What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Urban FinTech at the G Spot Studios channel, where we try to make finance and technology sexy. I'm your girl, G. And today we're talking about BlackRock. So Larry Fink actually says that capitalism didn't work. And he said that in a letter that he wrote to investors as well as corporate leaders earlier in the year. So this is from Yahoo Finance, and it says, billionaire BlackRock CEO Larry Fink said nearly every person he talks to is anxious about the economy more than any time in recent memory. And so he goes on to just kind of talk about how things have shifted. And it says here, billionaire BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says the global mood has shifted. People are uneasy, and it's not just everyday investors that are feeling it. In his 2025 annual chairman's letter to investors and corporate leaders, Fink wrote, I hear it from every client, nearly every leader, nearly every person I talk to. They're more anxious about the economy than any time in recent memory. And he says he understands why. So he kind of goes on to talk about, as he continues, we've lived through moments like this before, and somehow in the long run, we figure things out. That reflection, part acknowledgement, part reassurance, set the tone for one of the most closely watched letters in corporate America. So each spring, Fink pens this letter. I'm sure he doesn't pen it, but maybe on a computer, that he writes. And it's an annual letter which he outlines what he sees in the global economy, where the markets are going, and where he thinks things are headed. So in 2025, his message went beyond market forecasts. This time he talked about capitalism. And he said, quote, capitalism did not work, just for too few people. He wrote, pointing to the uneven distribution of prosperity. He argued that economic participation must be expanded, not replaced, but expanded. Writing, the solution isn't to abandon markets, it's to expand them. He talks about more investment, more investors. That's the answer. And so this letter was published in April at a time when we know that the growth of assets had slowed down. There was persistent inflation, tariff talks, unsettled global markets. So all these the interest rates were high. They even have a figure here, I think, inflation reaching 2.9% as of August. And it's like, come on now, times 5. So yeah, it's just interesting that they're looking at capitalism being a failure in that way, particularly when most of these big wigs are well off, and so they don't really need to share the wealth. But I say it time and time again, I am a firm believer that if you want to have a world that works, a world that has less violence, a world that is thriving, that doesn't experience poverty and hunger and homelessness, then you really have to spread that wealth. It only makes sense. We all come here free, and we all are a part of this earth, and we all deserve to own parts of this earth, not just selected few people, but everybody, right? And so that's just my little take on it. I'm curious to see what you think. Let me know in the comments. Do you think that capitalism was something that really hindered folks and that we need to change that whole system? I think it's sexy news. BlackRock has been doing some major things. So let's talk about some of the things that they've done. Some of the significant things that BlackRock has done over the past 10 years have been pretty significant. First of all, their massive growth in assets under management has pretty much doubled. So their AUM surged from around 4.6 trillion, which is still a great number, in 2015 to over 10 trillion in 2023. So in less than 10 years, they've more than doubled their assets under management. So this growth was fueled by its dominance in the ETFs, especially through its iShares brand. And we know that there are some ETFs on the horizon with BlackRock. And so we're excited about that. Another thing that they've done, they've pushed toward ESG and sustainable investing. So when I talk about how capitalism didn't work, and we really need to spread the wealth in order to just sustain the planet. If you think about it logically, this is what they're talking about. So they're looking more at sustainable investing. In 2020, CEO Larry Fink declared climate risk as investment risk, signaling a major shift toward ESG, or which is environmental social governance. And that's a type of investing. So that's something to look out for in the future and on the horizon. BlackRock also began pressuring companies to disclose climate-related risk and reduce carbon footprints. And so they took this stance, and it has faced some political backlash in recent years, but I think it's going to turn around. That's always what you get when you have sort of a new position, a new approach to things. People don't like to be disrupted. They're used to what they know. And so it takes a while to kind of get the buy-in from the people. The other thing is technology and Aladdin platform expansion. So it looks like BlackRock, their Aladdin platform, a risk management and portfolio analytics tool, has become a backbone for institutional investors. So a lot of institutions using this technology, and it's used by banks, by insurers, and even central banks to manage trillions in assets. So we're talking big buku money, okay? And strategic acquisitions and partnerships. So this is something that they also did to expand their reach, and they acquired eFront in 2019 to expand into private markets and alternative investments. They've also partnered with Coinbase just 3 years ago, so in 22, to offer crypto access to institutional clients, marking a major step in digital assets. So that's big. And then crypto and Bitcoin, of course, and the ETF push is another thing that BlackRock has done to really set themselves apart. And they filed for a Bitcoin spot ETF in 23, signaling mainstream acceptance of crypto by traditional finance. And this move was seen as a potential catalyst for broader crypto adoption. So setting the foundation of sort of what's to come, or what's considered to be something of value. They are pretty much doing that. And so they absolutely have huge influence. Even this letter that Fink penned to investors and corporate leaders, it still sets the tone for the way that people invest, right? So being conscious of how these leaders and corporate financial gurus are really impacting how retail and corporate people are investing just by the things that they say. Influence in corporate governance. So speaking on it, this is what comes up next. BlackRock has used its voting power to influence board decisions at thousands of companies. So just literally talked about that. It has also faced scrutiny for its role in shaping corporate policies, especially around climate and diversity. So again, heavy influence around these different ways in which we plan to operate moving forward on a global scale. And so navigating market volatility would be the last thing that they've done to really kind of set themselves apart and be a really big leader in the investment world. And so during COVID-19, they played a key role in stabilizing markets. So BlackRock did that. They even managed parts of the U.S. Federal Reserve's bond buying program, all right? So they in cahoots with the government and everybody in between. So despite market turbulence, its diversified holdings helped it maintain strong returns, averaging 124% total return over the past 5 years. So that's what BlackRock is doing and has done. So huge for them to be still, major players in the game, and obviously influential. We want to keep our ear, to the streets and kind of know what's going on. And so this is one of the ways that we want to do that, is by paying attention to these big hitters and, their foresight. And so that should help us and guide us as we move forward with our investment journeys. So let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think about Larry Fink? What do you think about BlackRock? Is this bullish news? Is it? Hey, thanks so much for the like, share, and subscribe. A takeover? Is it something that is beneficial for retail investors, or is it just big business as usual? I'm curious to know your thoughts. See you next time. Take care.